Welcome back to some new malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Call Count. I worked at a call center for a collection agency for nearly 5 years. Anybody that has worked in this type of environment knows that there are all sorts of targets that are expected to be met, be they daily, monthly, or whatever. One of our targets was to make a certain number of calls per day. I believe it was 120. Naturally though, the more contact you would make with debtors, the less time there was to make other calls. It is usually not an issue, but some days you might make significantly more contact than others, and sometimes your call count might be like 2/3 of what it should be. We would get regular updates on the call count, and our manager would let us know if we were on track, and at the end of the day they would give you the final results. I found it very annoying when you would have a successful day, collecting debts and generating revenue for the company, only to have a manager dwell on your call count. Any protests of, yes, I didn't meet the call count requirement, but hey, look at the revenue I generated today. It doesn't matter, the target must be met. Even if it wasn't a successful day, but I knew I still ended up spending much time in contact with these debtors in an attempt to collect, I would ask managers to review my talk time to see that the efforts were being made to do what we are hired to do. It doesn't matter, the requirement must be met. Now, to be clear, a call only counted if someone picked up or the call went to a voicemail box that wasn't full. The system was unable to register events otherwise, meaning if you were to make hundreds of attempts in one day, only a fraction are registered. Everyone is aware of this, but it didn't matter to the company. Well, I was tired of the unfairness of it all. It also doesn't help that the company was grossly skimming the bonuses that my department's client provided to us as a reward for successfully collecting on these debts. It was really obvious when our bonuses became random numbers, when it was only possible for them to be multiples of 5. Frustrated with this literal theft and underappreciation of successful collection, I decided to comply with the call count expectations and never be under the target again. I created a notepad file with a list of all the telephone numbers that went straight to voicemail. These are often numbers that have blocked us, or presumably the owner of the number set up as a Ray or something. From then on, I made sure to make 15 to 20 calls per hour that would register. I would spread these calls out, so my activity wouldn't seem suspicious, and would spend all day reading articles on the internet. Naturally, the revenue I had been generating decreased by about 80%. How come you're not collecting? Well, manager, you can see I am surpassing my call count target, and my talk time is very low, so I'm just not getting the opportunities to do so. Whatever I was collecting after doing so was really easy. The people whose accounts we received could pay, and wanted to pay anyway. Often these people would call us, so I just relied on that to make it appear like I was doing anything at all. They started giving me lower value portfolios to work on, which is fine by me. You are stealing my bonus. The very incentive I have to do more than the bare minimum anyway for a paycheck. I honestly thought I was quiet quitting, but no, I had a reputation as a valued member of our department and company, so no one wanted to fire me. I guess they just chalked up my lack of success to the bad portfolios they were assigning me. Still, my bonuses and well on a target that would be better judged as a marker of effort rather than an end-all be-all, and I couldn't care less. I was getting paid to read. This went on for nearly 2 years, until I had to leave for mental health reasons. The last story is called Has to Stay Late. At the time of this incident, I had been working for a big box superstore for about 12 years, 5 of which as a department manager. I managed 3 areas: fresh meat, frozen seafood, and prepackaged deli and breakfast meats. I supervised 2 part-timers and 2 full-timers. I reported to 3 supervisors, ranking in order: an assistant manager, a co-manager, and then the store manager. On a particular Thursday morning, it was just me and one of my full-timers, Carl. Carl was on duty until 3 p.m, myself until 4 p.m, and no one else after. My other full-timer was on his day off. One part-timer was not available Thursdays to Saturday, and the other was on vacation. Coverage was thin, at best, and would continue to be that way through the weekend. Having been super light on coverage all week due to one of my guys being on vacation, the deli wall was looking a little thin. On this morning I had to decide how best to prepare for the weekend. I knew that I would not have enough staff to commit a person to fill the deli wall on Friday or Saturday. As soon as I had finished breaking down Thursday morning's delivery with Carl, I began to get the deli wall as full as possible before I left that day. That way I could have my guys focus on the fresh meat wall throughout the weekend, where I knew it would be super busy. While I did this, I entrusted Carl to fill the fresh meat wall for Thursday night's 4 PM rush. He was a very hard worker, despite his age and health. I knew he could handle it on his own. Around 11 AM, Carl had to take his lunch break. While he is gone, Micromanager Scott arrives to work and sees only me. And I'm filling the deli wall while only half of the fresh meat wall had been stocked thus far. Scott does not like this. He tells my assistant manager Brenda to have me swap to the fresh wall, as it is more important for that night's customers. I immediately seek out Scott to tell him why this is a bad idea and why I am filling deli meats and not fresh meats. But Scott doesn't care. He doesn't want to hear what I have to say. I am to do exactly as I am told. He does not want me to fill the deli wall, only the fresh wall. Did I mention that Scott is ex-military and still acts like he is enlisted? So I did exactly as Scott told me. After having only worked about an hour on the deli wall, I pulled all the fried back into the cooler and began filling the fresh wall. Carl returned from lunch, confused to see me. I explained what had happened before taking my own lunch. Upon my return, the fresh wall was nearly finished, but I went ahead and helped Carl continue filling it. Soon we were done and just topping it off throughout the rest of the afternoon. If someone bought a pack of beef, we both ran back into the cooler to bring out another. Same with chicken, pork, anything. Walking back and forth, one package at a time, until Carl left at 3 PM and then I left at 4 PM. As I walked past the deli wall on my way out, it was already looking much worse than it had when I had arrived that morning. When I arrived to work at 7 AM on Friday morning, the first thing I did was walk past the deli wall. I was completely caught off guard to see it had been filled. As I'm theorizing who could have possibly filled it, Brenda comes by and sees the puzzled look on my face. She comes over to me with a bit of a grin on her face. The little bit that had been on the deli wall when I had left only continued to be shopped. More and more of the wall emptied out as people shopped. It began to look like people had been panic buying. It had gotten so empty. Around 8 PM, a market manager came in to do his own shopping. A market manager is someone who my store manager reports to. In other words, someone who has even greater authority than anyone in the store. Market manager Bob goes to buy some lunch meat. Lo and behold, there's almost nothing on the shelf. He notices the entire wall is nearly bare. He is furious. Bob demands that Scott comes over to the deli wall immediately. Scott runs over and Bob orders him to get the wall stocked immediately. Scott is only now understanding the scope of his blunder. The wall is so empty that it will take a few hours to fill. And it is at this moment that Scott realizes how hard he had messed up because he hadn't checked the schedule earlier. He is now discovering that there's no one in the meat departments that evening. There's no one he can delegate this task to. Guess who ended up having to fill the deli wall? That's right, Scott had no choice but to do it himself and he didn't get done until midnight. Remember, he had arrived just before 11 AM that day. And he had to be back at 8 AM Friday. Also, Scott is salaried, so he got no overtime for the extra hours worked. Scott never did apologize to me for not trusting my judgment and for not listening to me, but he learned his lesson. From that day forward, he did not try to micromanage me and let me run my departments unimpeded. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.